Italians are renowned for their expressive hand gestures, with around 250 unique and recognizable gestures in use today. Some gestures convey specific, widely understood messages, while others just add flair or emphasis to verbal communication. But why did Italians start using so many hand gestures in the first place? One theory is that the practice arose to facilitate communication at noisy markets in places like Rome or Sicily. But it seems like a market would have to be really loud to make gestures necessary. And was Italy really the loudest place on Earth? If not, why don't we see these highly developed gestural languages everywhere? Maybe getting attention in noisy places is part of the picture, but it feels like an incomplete explanation at best. A competing theory says that the gestures are related to the inherently passionate Italian personality. A lot of people would agree with that premise, but then again, there are a lot of passionate cultures around the world. Could that quality alone explain the extensive use of gestures in Italy? History might provide clearer insights. It wasn't too long ago that most people living in what we now call Italy wouldn't have learned Italian as their first language. Depending on where you lived, your native tongue might have been Neapolitan, Sicilian, or any number of other dialects or languages. This was especially true before the country unified politically in the mid-1800s under what's sometimes called the Risorgimento. Even today, some Italians prefer to communicate in dialect rather than standard Italian. These long-standing linguistic divides might have encouraged people to look for other ways to communicate, and they weren't the only language barriers Italians would have dealt with. The peninsula has a long history of seafaring that goes all the way back to the Etruscans. Thousands of years of trade in the region gave Proto-Italians plenty of opportunities to interact with people who spoke different languages, from the Greeks to the Egyptians. Italy's history of being invaded by a rotating cast of foreign powers, from the Normans to the Visigoths, might have also played a part. Whether people were brought together by trade or invasion, gestures would have been a natural part of cross-cultural communication. Think about other cultures that had thousands of years of linguistic diversity and far-reaching trade networks, places like present-day India or the Middle East. Given some of those historical similarities with Italy, maybe it's no coincidence that today, people from those parts of the world are often said to be demonstrative speakers too. It's unlikely that any single thing led to Italians' embrace of communicating with gestures, but millennia of needing to communicate with people who spoke different languages would at least have demonstrated the utility of nonverbal communication. Whatever the reason or reasons it started, this visual language has certainly made itself a beloved part of Italian culture. That pride may very well help keep the tradition of talking with your hands alive in Italy for years to come.